come join us out here.
I love you so much right now.
Yeah.
Stand it up. Stand it up. Your hand. Up like by your head. Put your arm. Oh. Okay. So lucky it doesn't hurt. Same story as last time. I should have got one more step. I'm gonna have to move. Okay, we had a minor issue there. Phyllis's measuring wasn't that good, so she's gonna try to blame it on me. Just ignore that. But here we are. Well, that looks lots better.
Do we look straight?
Yeah. That's pretty impressive. They didn't fall off, so that's good. That looks like a lot of solar panel. Holy smokes. What do you think of that, Phyllis?
Wow. What's with
The what?
the fingerprints all over everything?
Well, you go up there and clean those off. They're
Oh,
probably going to
really?
be inefficient now with the fingerprints.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. Well, there we are, folks. That is our solar array is mounted. Sorry, photovoltaic array. For those of you solar nerds out there. So yeah, we'll mount our little box up here and be ready to run wires in the house. That was a lot of work, not gonna lie. About 5 hours to put together the Montana mount and install the panels on it. So I hope you like that part. We'll wait till it gets really scary inside and we have to wire this up. But here it is from the back side. Kind of neat. You got your 4 panels. 2 and 2 will get wired in series. and those will come down to our midnight solar panel that gets mounted to the pole there. So, but yeah, that's what we got. Good morning, folks. Today we are going to we're going to trench in the PV cables from the solar to the control. I have to go with 24 inches down to be up to code for the cable in CPVC, and I'm not digging it by hand. That's a lot of work. So I went and rented this. So this is a walk behind trencher. Got it from just in town here. So this should make our work a whole lot easier today, I hope. He did warn me that it's really kind of a bear to handle, so I guess we'll find out. I'll put you on time lapse here and we'll do some digging. Good morning, YouTube. Today we are starting day 3 of the solar install. A caveat to that, in order to do that, I need to mount a 3/4 inch plywood panel to the wall. But before I can do that, I need to actually install the shower and the stub wall here. I'll show you. The panel is going to go here, but I don't know the dimensions of the panel because I can't until this wall is up and this wall here is up. So unfortunately I have to start by at least getting this shower framed in where it's going to permanently be, and once that's done I'll cut the panel, and then we'll see if we can't put all of this stuff together to make an actual viable solar system. I talked to a friend of mine yesterday and he goes, don't worry about it, it's easy. Just think of electronics as a river, right? Everything's got to flow. There's dams, there's diversions, there's stuff like that. So, and the instructions are pretty good. I read them every night, and every night I learn a little bit more. So, plus I've got YouTube videos I can check out. So I'm just going to put this on time lapse, and yeah, you can see some of it go. Okay, let me take that off. It's been a couple hours here since we started the time-lapse part of it, and I've made a little progress. Let me show you. Everything is framed out now. The door is framed for a 30-inch right-hand swing door, and I have my panel mounted. Okay, well, not really. I brought the batteries in so that I could make sure that our cables are going to reach the panel. They're going to be plenty long. I mounted a 3/4 inch thick plywood deal to the wall. The panel mount is made to go on 16-inch centers, which I have. However, where they are would make it set exactly in the center, which wouldn't give me room for the charge controller or anything. So I chose to do it this way, and we will we'll mount the control panel over to the side. So I'll do a little bit of video on here as I get this mounted. I just got one screw in it right now. Okay, well, today I believe is the final day of working on the solar. One of the things that they talked about was not mounting the batteries directly underneath the inverter, just due to the 8 billion gigawatts that's going through it. So what I did here is I moved them off to the side, and right away you got to know, if you've got lead acid batteries in there, they really should be vented. New ones put off a lot less when they're going through the absorption. But the older the batteries get, the more hydrogen sulfide and other stuff they put out. So we can see here, I don't know if you can see down there, there is a vent that goes directly outside. So as they're charging and they're off gassing a little bit, it can vent to the outside. I'm going to seal it up real good, but eventually, I'm not going to do it right now because I got too many irons in the fire. I'm going to install it's like a hard drive cooling fan. They're real cheap, and hook it up to a battery voltage controller to actually cycle and ventilate it outside. That's the actual plan. So now I'm going to wire these batteries in series. I'm going to hook up the ground. I'm not going to hook up the positive until I have my AC out, which is right here, hooked into the panel, and then I'll hook up the DC positive, and then I can plug in the remote and turn it on. We'll see what we got. Just so you know, these are the battery cables we're dealing with. These are huge. I have never dealt with battery cables that big, so it's kind of fun. But yesterday, well, you'll see the video, but I actually rented a trencher. That was more work than you can imagine. It looks easy maybe on the video, but it wasn't. It took 2 hours. And then I backfilled it by hand. I'm a lot of sore today. So yeah, I will check back with you in a little bit once I got these batteries wired up, and we're ready to test it. Love you, bye. Okay, so now I'm in the process of wiring the batteries in series. Batteries can be wired in series, they can be wired in parallel, and they can be wired in series parallel. I'm not a genius on this stuff, so I'm not gonna try to explain the finer points to you. But in certain wiring configurations, you know, like in this case, I've got 4 6-volt batteries, and wiring them in series this way actually will output 24 volt. This is a 24 volt system off 6-volt batteries. They can be wired in a way that they put out 6 volt. They can be wired in a way they put out 12 volt. It's all in how you connect them. I'm always very, very, very careful when I'm doing this. I should probably have a face guard and all kinds of other stuff on, considering I'm dealing with battery acid, but I just make sure I never touch 2 poles at the same time, on the same battery, that is. Because these I'm connecting the positive of one battery to the negative of the other, positive to negative, and then the negative from, oh no. Okay, yeah. The negative from here will go into the control panel, and the positive from here will go into the control panel. So they all kind of stack up and get me that 24 volt. But if you touch 2 poles on the same battery, you're gonna already have your Halloween mask ready for this fall, because your face is gonna be a mess. Okay, here we are. We are wired up. You may ask, why does this one look different than the others? That's just because I swapped the battery around in order to reach. I needed that little extra length there to get my positive cable in there. And we are completely wired now. The only thing left, I believe, is the I've got one wire to hook up back at the panel. So I am going to get this plugged in, and we'll see if we got anything or if I made a huge mistake in doing this. Wow, at least I got enough extra cable there to do something with. that at all. Why are we so long? I'm going to put this on loosely here at first, just until I know that we got everything right. I will have to go and turn on the breakers at the PV panel. Yeah, that's working like I thought it would. We'll go turn those on and I'll be right back. All right, take number 3. The first time I didn't record. The second time I had a giant spot on the lens and that's all I could see is spots. It's like having dirty glasses, you know. In any case, you're not actually going to believe this. I finished the solar system. And if that weren't enough, it worked the first time. That's never happened to me before. I swear that's why I don't build airplanes, because you don't have a second chance. In any case, I'm going to give you a quick look at what's going on here. And then I'm going to do a plywood moment behind me here. And I'm going to kind of show you how some of this works in case you actually know less than me about solar. I don't know if there's anyone out there that does. So here's what we got. Okay, first off, we've got the battery box. We talked about that. There's 4 L16 6-volt batteries in there, wired in series to make them 24. And then we've got the inverter, and then we've got the MMP. All your disconnects, all your wiring, and all that magic happens in there. And as you can see right here, if you can, right now it's inverting batteries are at 24.3 and it's drawing 0 amps. Now, the real magic of this whole thing is right here. That's your charge controller. And you can see right now, coming in is 62 volts, out is 24. In is 0.6 amps, out is 1.7. And by out, I mean it's going out through here, back to the batteries. So, here's what we got. Decided to do a little plywood moment here for you. So hopefully you can understand a little bit better in case you don't know how this works. So what we've got here, okay, right here, we have the sun. And today in particular, he's really unhappy because there are clouds all around and they're kind of blocking him, okay? So he's not doing a whole lot. So that's why those numbers are really low on the charge controller that I just showed you. But the way our system works, and keep in mind, we are completely off grid, 100%. There's no telephone poles coming down my driveway. There's nothing. We're off grid. And what we've been doing until this system got installed is we would rough it until cell phones were about dead, batteries were about dead, and we would start up the generator. Okay, so every day, generator's running for minimum of 4 hours. Not to mention the stove that we have runs off electricity. So you can see how that might be an issue. So we installed a solar system. Here's what we got. So the sun shines down on the 4 320 watt solar panels on a pole outside. They go into a little box called the combiner box. And from there it goes out to the MMP. And then it goes into the charge controller. Okay, so what you saw here on the charge controller, you got 60 volts coming in. Well, this battery system is 24 volt, so that's not going to work at all. So this changes the 64 volts down to 24, or up to 28. And then it increases the amps from 0.6 to 1.5 in this case. I don't know what sort of magical stuff happens in that box to make those numbers turn out, but I'm sure some electrical engineer type, like my father-in-law, could actually make sense of that. So it comes in here, goes through here, comes back out to a usable voltage. And then it goes back out through there. Now, the inverter. Okay, let's talk about the inverter, right? We got batteries. Batteries are DC power. We need AC power to run the house because all light bulbs are AC. DC is a straight line. AC is what's called a sine wave in 60 cycles per second. Correct me if I'm wrong or don't, but it's something like that. That's your hertz, is your frequency is the 60 cycles. So the inverter converts it to AC. It goes out from the inverter. There's a thingy down here that goes over to the 100 amp panel for the house, and then out to your, let's draw one here, out to your outlet boxes like that, right? You got those all over the house. So, okay, that's fine. What if we go a long time and the sun stays crabby like that and we don't get any power coming in here? Well, this system is kind of like your Toyota Prius, you know, those fancy things there. They've got a little gas motor. They got a little gas motor like here. I want to make it look like a motorcycle engine, right? And then that runs a generator or an alternator over here, and that creates electricity that goes to the batteries, and the batteries run the car. Well, in this case, I used a cheap little, it's an imitation Honda EMU 2000, something like that, and that creates AC power coming into the MP, I think it is. I think that's wrong. And that will not only supply the batteries, but supplies the inverter with power to go back out to the house and there, right? That's pretty simple. I kind of makes sense. It didn't make any sense when I looked at the instructions, but here we are. Now, there's another system out there, yet two, where say I really had too much money and I already had power poles coming into the house, right? These are power poles. That's exactly what they look like. And that was coming into my 100 amp panel and going out through the house, giving me, well, at least where I came from, we had every month a $300 bill, okay? $300. That was my electric bill. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I was welding. There was air conditioning units running. Haven't seen a need for those in Alaska yet. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff running. Plus the lights never seem to get turned off in the house. Don't know whose fault that is. But, okay, so I could have that system and I could have this system. It's possible. And what would happen is, say the sun was happy and I got lots of charger laters going in here and the batteries were just topped right off. They're real good, right? Well, now the charge controller, and it'll do that without this too. The charge controller, if it senses the batteries are all the way full topped off, it shuts off the juice going to them. If you don't, the batteries get overcharged, they boil, they give off, I don't remember if it's hydrogen sulfide gas, but the stuff smells like rotten eggs, and that actually is quite explosive. So, and it destroys your battery life. So what happens is the brains of the whole thing shuts it off so it can't overcharge those. So it keeps it steady. But if we had telephone poles coming in, instead of shutting it off to the batteries, it would go through a switch that would then take the excess power and it would send it right back to the telephone poles. Okay? Well, what good's that do you? Well, what it does is it gives you a credit towards your monthly bill, okay? So say I used, I don't know how they do that, how they measure it. kilowatt hours, I think. say it's kilowatt hours, in case I'm wrong. Say I used 100 kilowatt hours and I sent back 40. Well, if my bill were, for easy math, $100 minus 40, my bill would be 60. See how that works? Pretty simple. But we don't have the option of the telephone pole. Now, if one day, because there was talk that if I could get, say there were 3 people on this road that wanted power brought in here, it would be $10,000 a piece. This system that you see behind me was about $8 grand. I did all the install. I can't imagine what it would be if somebody else had to do it. So I got $8 grand involved in it right now. It's not costing me any money to run. It's paid for cash. Done. This $300 bill thing is gone. Now, if I were to spend $10,000 to have power brought in, I'm out $10,000. I have nothing tangible to my name that I spent $10,000 on. Honestly, I think they ought to bring it in for free, because then they get the $300 a month for the life of the building. It's going to have a return on investment, but whatever. That's their issue. I'm not doing it. So, you know, the other thing that would do, if I had it, I got nothing for my money other than I got a steady power supply. But I've got a bill again. I don't want a bill again. That's not why we came up here, to be off grid. I want no bills. So that's why we did this. And there you go. So I don't know. I guess leave comments out there. I'm sure I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. But this is how it works, and it does work. I have run the generator. Oh yeah. Well, okay. Just an aside here quick. As Henry VIII once said to each of his 6 wives, I won't keep you long. One other thing with this that I noticed that is kind of an issue. Okay, my imitation Honda generator out there is an inverter generator. Okay, so it works kind of like this system here. You got AC power coming in, but if the RPM varies at all on the generator, that would affect your hertz, right? Remember that on the sine wave there, 60 per second. If that varies and drops by 10%, that drops by 10%, and your things like iPhones and such really don't like that. It tends to burn them right up. So you get the inverter generator. So that takes your DC, goes through an inverter, and makes it a nice smooth wave. Actually, probably fairly smooth. The inverter that we have here is called a pure sine wave inverter. It's not a modified sine wave inverter. The modified sine wave, and again, I may be wrong, a lot of times they look like this. Okay, it looks that way instead of the nice smooth sine wave. I don't know really how that affects equipment. I can't be sure, but anyway, I hooked up an old generator that I have. It's about 7 years old, and it will not work. It instantly kicks all the breakers out, where the little one is just fine. I've heard that can be because of how the neutral and the ground are bonded, but I don't know. I ask the father-in-law is what I normally do. So yeah, that's what I got for you. So sorry about taking you down the halls of the nerdery here, but I thought I would kind of show you that in case anyone actually wanted to know. And if you didn't, well, hey, thanks for watching. This was, it was a lot of work, not gonna lie. I'm still sore from it. However, that is worth it right there. It's bringing in power. I'm not paying for it. Generators aren't running. I'm happy. So until next time, love you, bye.